Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duck Bricks. I'm Chris, and today we have some pretty exciting breaking LEGO news. The winner of the 90th Anniversary Ideas Fan Vote has been revealed by Promobricks, which is basically the most reliable LEGO leaker out there. This is not 100% confirmed, but since Promobricks was the one to release it, it is essentially all but confirmed, and I would just take it as fact. Now, this is a really exciting vote, and of course, there is a lot of information I want to share with you. So the way this video is structured is that for the first part, we'll be doing some analysis on the winner, why LEGO kind of chose this, what I think their thought process was. Of course, I'll be revealing the winner at the very beginning as well, and essentially just discussing what it means for the losing themes and the other themes that didn't make the cut. But stay tuned for the second part of the video where we're actually going to be discussing what might be a second chance for some of the losing themes, because there's actually a few new rumors about a new minifigure series specifically focused on the 90th anniversary winning themes. So could we be getting minifigure Bionicle this year? Well, stay tuned to the end to find out. Let's just jump right into the discussion. Alright, so for those of you who aren't aware, this year in 2022 is the 90th anniversary of the LEGO Group, from 1932 to all the way to 2022. So as such, LEGO wanted to celebrate their 90th anniversary by hosting a poll on LEGO Ideas, to decide which one of LEGO's classic themes would be made into a special, massive anniversary set, which will likely release later on this year around August. So essentially what LEGO did was that they hosted a vote on the LEGO Ideas site featuring 30 classic themes. The themes are Trains, Town, Classic Space, Classic Castle, Lion Knights, Black Falcons, Model Team, Forest Men, Blacktron, Black Knights, Pirates, Imperials, Space Police, Mtron, Wolfpack, Paradisa, Dragon Knights, Ice Planet, Aquazone, Spyrius, Explorians, Time Cruisers, Divers, Adventurers, Extreme Team, Rock Raiders, Studios, Bionicle, Arctic, and Alpha Team. So what might be immediately apparent is that there were actually quite a few issues with the way this poll was set up. You see, themes like Castle were split up into multiple different sub-themes. There was Classic Castle, of course, but there also were Lion Knights, or Black Falcons, or Forest Men. And that was a pretty big problem in deciding the vote because, of course, people always have their favorite sub-theme of Castle, which meant that the votes weren't really united. The same goes for Pirates, by splitting it between Pirates and Imperials, although that one was a little bit easier because those were really the only two sub-themes of Pirates. Space got hit especially hard by splitting it up between all their different sub-themes. From Classic Space to Space Police to Mtron to Ice Planet, everyone has their own favorite Classic Space sub-theme, and I do feel like it wasn't really fair to split them up. Now, of course, Bionicle was on the list as well, but to me, again, I feel like the list was initially unfairly stacked against the original LEGO themes, and actually kind of in Bionicle's favor, because specifically, Bionicle was not split up into different categories. There was only one Bionicle category, which was just kind of showcasing the Tahu set. If they were to do it fairly, it would have been like splitting Bionicle up into Toa Mata, Toa Inika, Bullrock, etc., all the different sub-themes of Bionicle. That way it would have actually been fair. And so, after the results of the first vote came out, the top three winners were Classic Space, Pirates, and Bionicle, with Castle nowhere to be found, specifically because the votes for Castle had been split amongst the different sub-themes. So LEGO, in my opinion, correctly adjusted the vote by saying that for the second round of voting, they decided to expand it to the top four themes. Bionicle, Classic Space, Pirates, and Classic Castle was re-added back on the list because, again, they realized it was not fair to actually have the votes be split. And if you really wanted to add up all the votes as the original Classic Castle sub-themes, then you would get a number that far outweighed many of the other themes. So in my opinion, I think that was actually pretty fair. It makes total sense to include them all on the list for the final poll. What gets interesting is that LEGO chose not to reveal the results of the second round of voting, and instead they just decided that they would take it into consideration when making the 90th anniversary set. This fueled a lot of speculation that LEGO was maybe already planning a Castle set, or maybe they were actually trying to insert it to do something else. But for all intents and purposes, the final four came down to Castle, Space, Pirates, and Bionicle. And that leads us to this year. So just today, Promobricks, which is probably the most reliable LEGO leak site, finally revealed the theme that was decided to be the winner of the 90th anniversary vote. And that, to actually some surprise on my end, was Classic Castle. Specifically, they are making a Lion Knights castle. The official set name is Lion King's Castle. So that is really interesting to me, because if you look at trends based on past years, in 2020 we got a massive direct-to-consumer set celebrating classic LEGO Pirates, in the form of the Barracuda Bay. In 2021 we got a massive D2C celebrating classic Castle, in the form of the Medieval Blacksmith. Both of these years also had classic LEGO creator sets inspired by these themes, such as the Creator Pirate Ship in 2020 and the Creator Castle in 2021. Now, this year, I was kind of expecting that the winner of the 90th anniversary vote would be Classic Space, because Classic Space hasn't actually gotten any official sets in many recent years. Sure, we got a small little Classic Space almost battle pack in 2019 for the LEGO Movie 2, but we really haven't seen anything big from original LEGO space themes. So I personally thought it would make a lot of sense to get a massive Classic Spaceship for the 90th anniversary of the LEGO group. But for whatever reason, LEGO decided to choose Classic Castle, specifically Lion Knights, and I do kind of suspect that this was definitely a financially motivated decision because, as we've seen in recent years, Castle actually sells really well. Unlike 2013, which was kind of the last standard classic Castle theme that we got, or original Castle theme we got from LEGO, which did not sell well at all, that actually ended the theme, recent attempts at putting out Castle sets have really succeeded. And that brings me to the second point that I want to consider, which was the Bricklink A-Full Designer program. You see, this was a completely separate program co-hosted by Bricklink, which is now owned by LEGO, and LEGO themselves, which intended to resurrect previous idea sets that never actually were transformed into official LEGO sets, but actually made it through all the rounds of voting, and allowed them to be purchased in a crowdfunding format. Essentially, what had happened is that LEGO introduced the first round of voting, which is really the only round that's relevant here, which featured a classic Castle in the Forest set alongside a Bionicle system set. The way the vote was set up is that there were about 7 different options, but only 5 of them would actually be made into official sets. Specifically, the top 5 that were fundraised right in time to be made into official sets. Now, essentially what happened is that last year, the Castle sold out almost immediately. The Castle sold out, I believe, in about 10 minutes to 30 minutes. It was just gone right when being put up. It blew past the fundraising limit, and it actually blew past the official limit for these sets to be produced themselves. Now, Bionicle, on the other hand, despite being one that the community as a whole generally tried to champion, abysmally failed. It was not only beat out by LEGO Castle, but it was also very quickly beat out by an old fishing boat, it was beat out by a working sheriff safe, a little diorama of classic aircraft, and particularly beat out by the Kakapo bird, which has become somewhat of a meme in the Bionicle community for destroying our hopes of getting a Bionicle set in 2021. So, LEGO definitely took a look at this data, and in my opinion, they kind of ran this as market research to see, would a Bionicle system set actually sell? And unfortunately, the answer is no. Now, a lot of fans have kind of come back and said that, well, it was a Bionicle system set, so it wasn't really fair because it wasn't actually a classic Bionicle action figure. Now, to that I will actually have to say that it definitely was not feasible to do any sort of classic Bionicle action figure as a set, because for one, CCBS is completely discontinued. We really don't see any more CCBS parts and sets aside from the occasional friction joint and handpiece. Basically everything else, the limbs, the shells, has been fully discontinued. Obviously, the G1 Bionicle system has been long discontinued because that was an inferior system in the terms of the ways the joints were set up and how easy they were to crack, so there was no chance LEGO would ever be able to resurrect those, especially not for a one-off set like the A-Full Designer program, and maybe even not for a one-off set like the 90th anniversary set. Really, the only option for a Bionicle was to get a system set, which is why, looping this back to the 90th anniversary, I feel like it was completely improbable to get a Bionicle set for the 90th anniversary. There was just no way it would be financially doable because, one, a lot of original Bionicle fans liked Bionicle because it wasn't system, because they were action figures. By doing them as actual system builds, that loses a lot of the audience for Bionicle. The traditional LEGO system fans also would not probably want to buy a system set dedicated to Bionicle, because the subject matter is too niche. So really to me, it came down to between Classic Space, Pirates, or Castle. And of course, now we know Castle is the winner, and we will be getting a $350 Lion King's Castle later this year in August. So all that aside, I do think that this is the decision that made the most sense for LEGO. Personally, I love everything LEGO. I love LEGO Space, I love LEGO Castle, I love Pirates, and of course, I love Bionicle. So I am very happy that LEGO's even doing this in the first place. They definitely did not need to do this, but I'm really happy they actually are. Personally, I kinda wish that they actually decided to release 4 sets or 3 sets. making the castle maybe the largest set, but putting out maybe a smaller space set, a smaller pirate set, and a smaller Bionicle set. Just a set to commemorate each of the 4 winners. But instead, LEGO just decided to do the one massive Lion Knights castle set, which I personally am very excited for. Just feels like a bit of a missed opportunity not to make sets out of the other themes. But that brings me to another actual interesting aspect that I actually haven't really seen many people be discussing. And that is, Series 23 of the LEGO collectible minifigures is rumored to be releasing this year. And what's very, very interesting is that the current rumor, which is almost confirmed as fact because it is rumored by Promobricks, is that Series 23 will be a 90th anniversary LEGO minifigure series celebration. Now this is very, very interesting for a few reasons. Specifically because it means that there's actually hope for getting representation of all these other themes in this actual collectible minifigure series. I definitely actually would expect the top 4 winners, Bionicle, Castle, Space, and Pirates, to get representation in this minifigure series, should the rumors turn out to be true. This is actually really exciting, because that could mean we could be getting a minifigure version of a Bionicle, probably Tahu or something like that, in an official LEGO set this year, which is actually pretty exciting. And I honestly don't see why LEGO wouldn't do it, especially because Bionicle was one of the top winners. Sure, we may not be getting a set, but getting a $5 minifigure is a much safer bet for LEGO to include, especially because, again, it's only $5. They're not losing a ton of money by having the set not sell well. And of course, there's all the other minifigs in the blind bag, so this feels like the perfect chance to give us Bionicle minifigures, which is really exciting. Now, going back to the original poll, there were 30 different sub-themes that LEGO actually included. And of course, collectible minifigure series nowadays only include 12 minifigures. So now I kind of wanted to do a bit of speculation as to which minifigures will actually get representation out of these different sub-themes. I am 100% sure we'll get Space, I'm sure we'll get Castle, I'm sure we'll get Pirates, and I'm pretty sure we're actually going to get Bionicle. So that takes up 4 slots on the list. Now, given that LEGO wants to do different themes for different slots on the list, I would expect them to definitely want to do something related to Adventurers, because Adventurers is a classic LEGO theme. We did just get a collectible minifigure version of Johnny Thunder though, so I don't know exactly what they'll do with that. They may do another one, or they may do one of the other characters. So that's 5. I would also expect them to do something related to Rock Raiders and Alpha Team. These were other original classic LEGO themes that were represented in the poll and definitely did not win, but ones that are remembered very fondly in LEGO fan history, so that brings our count up to 7. I also would expect LEGO to do something tangentially related to Ice Planet, despite it being another space sub-theme that is definitely one of the most favorite space sub-themes they've done, so I would expect Ice Planet to get some representation here. Aquazone is another very viable contender, being again one of the classic LEGO themes that isn't really represented under the umbrella of the other themes. Now that leaves a few more choices, specifically 3 more slots for the minifigures. Now, I probably would expect these to be taken up by different representations out of the classic LEGO themes. I'm sure at least one of these will be a LEGO town minifigure, maybe a classic or retro styled town figure, so that leaves 2 options for other sub-themes. Maybe we get something related to the classic castle sets, because it seems that the actual set is not based off of classic castle, instead being based off of Lion Knights, so we might get a classic castle minifigure. It could be a Black Falcons or Forestmen one as well, and we probably would see another one for either the Imperial side of Pirates, or maybe something like a Space Police or Blacktron minifigure. Those, honestly, I could see being a very, very solid collectible minifigure series encompassing all different aspects of LEGO, and something I personally would be really, really excited about. So there is a silver lining. We may actually be getting Bionicle minifigures this year in 2022. We're just gonna have to wait and see for LEGO to reveal the Series 23 collectible minifigures. But with that, we have basically summed up this news video. Do let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of this decision? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree? Are you happy we're getting Castle? Because to me, it makes sense we're getting Castle. Sure, I would have loved to see Bionicle, but it just doesn't seem like it would have been feasible to make a Bionicle set that was commercially viable and also would please all of the different fans of both LEGO and Bionicle. So for the 90th anniversary set, I personally think it makes sense to do a LEGO Castle. But of course, I do want to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments, and thank you all so much for tuning into Duckbricks. Stay tuned for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon.